On this episode of Locked On Lightning, the Bolts finally break their losing streak. We talk about all that and more, but first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. I want to thank all of you for making us your first listen of the day. And of course, we are talking about, for the first time in a very long time, at least for the first time in 4 games, we are talking about the Lightning winning a game, getting back to quite possibly their winning ways. I don't know how we feel about this, but they win against the second best team in terms of points in the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes, by a score of 4-0. And it was a very good game. I'm being cautiously optimistic about this win just because how the last game went in Boston, a 2-1 loss, and just not feeling right or over optimistic possibly as one might be against, coming off, even though it was a loss, like I said in the last episode, you want to go into this game against Carolina, who, like I said, a shade under the Boston Bruins overall in the league in terms of overall points. And you want to have a little bit of a measured amount of, I guess, positivity, just because you don't want to set yourself up for disappointment. And we weren't disappointed in this one. The Lightning shut out the Carolina Hurricanes, and a great game played all around. The Lightning, despite only having 21 shots on goal, which I don't mind. There's some games, depending on the nature of, if the Lightning, especially if it's a loss, I would be a little bit more critical of the 21 shots on goal. And despite everything that has happened, like I said, it's been quite some time since the Lightning have won a game. I'll take whatever win, any kind of win that the Lightning could get right now at this point in time as the regular season trickles down. I'm fine with this. And quite honestly, when the Lightning play in these kind of games where it's more so, and you kind of see this more often with Lightning wins, is that the Lightning play their best hockey when it turns into a game of discipline. The Lightning did a very good job of staying out of the box tonight. And we also see the other side of this with those disciplined games is that oftentimes, especially if they're playing against a very good team, one such as the Carolina Hurricanes, oftentimes we see the Lightning not really draw any penalties, which can be frustrating. But I think we could all agree in hindsight that in games like that, it almost adds a certain level of discipline to them, because it's almost a little bit of a test for the Lightning, because it forces them to get more creative. It forces them to not, I guess, fall into a sense of comfortability, as maybe what we saw in the last game, which we didn't. But 5 power plays, you don't execute on any of them. A lot more frustrating than only having 1 power play chance, which of course they did not capitalize. But overall in this game, I thought they played very well all around. 28 hits versus Carolina's 14 hits, 48% in the faceoff circle, even though they didn't beat out Carolina in terms of superiority in the faceoff circle. I still think anytime you get close to 50% for the night, I would say that is really, really, really successful night for you. And for the Lightning, when they're able, not even allowed, when they're able to have that now margin of victory in the faceoff circle, we know, especially in a win like this, where it was low shots, where it was for the most part low scoring. I guess we could agree in today's NHL, 4 goals total in a game is very low scoring overall. It shows a lot of discipline, plus the fact that they did do a very good job of puck control, and the fact that they only had 7 giveaways throughout this entire game against a very good team in the Carolina Hurricanes proves as much. And when you get a game like that, it allows everybody on this team to somehow put their stamp on this game. Stamkos' first goal, Sergachev and Kuch. Braydon Point, his first goal, Stamkos. And then you have Point's second goal of the game, 47th of the year, Stamkos and Kuch. You see kind of that. Kaloran, the empty netter. I don't know if you want to count that at the end, but still, Point and Chernak. You get a lot of people involved. And that not only allows people to get comfortable on the offensive side of things, but it also allows them to get comfortable on the defensive side of things. Like we saw in this game, Andrei Vasilevskiy did a phenomenal job, saved every single shot that he faced, all 31 of them. And this was, if you were looking for one this year, if you were looking for an Andrei Vasilevskiy type vintage game, this was it. This was what I guess all of us were looking forward or looking towards or for, or whatever you want to say, or wishing for from Andrei Vasilevskiy, because as we've made no qualms about it, even though he has had 2 shutouts this year coming into this game, those were just very, for at least for Vasilevskiy. Now, if it, for maybe if that was Brian Elliott in net, we would be overly excited about it. But Vasilevskiy, I guess there's a certain higher standard that we hold him to, a certain higher level of dominance that we hold Vazzy to. And in this game was a testament to that. Standing tall when he needed to and making the great saves, jumping all over the place when he needed to, while also holding position in the crease. And that's what he did. He played phenomenal. He did everything that we would expect from a Vezina Trophy level performance from Vasilevskiy. And this is the kind of performance that I've been talking about in recent weeks that the Tampa Bay Lightning will need from Andrei Vasilevskiy in order to be successful long-term in the NHL. Now, the whole question that we're going to be asking ourselves in the next couple of games is, can the Lightning replicate something sort of close to this? Because at the end of the day, the level of play and recent success, it doesn't add up to where we could get a gauge on whether this team has done a good enough job to where we could look forward and feel good about the Stanley Cup playoffs just right around the corner. So we'll talk about that in the second segment, because really we got to ask ourselves at this point now, after beating Jersey twice a week ago, losing to the Boston Bruins by a close margin, beating the second best team in terms of points in the league and the Hurricanes and shutting them out. This team's kind of a little bit all over the place, while also getting absolutely annihilated a couple of games ago by the Ottawa Senators. So, we'll talk about that. Are they out of their slump? Are the Tampa Bay Lightning ready to turn the page from going to underachieving to playoff ready. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about today's sponsor, and that is our very good friends at FanDuel. Now, in case you haven't heard, the NCAA tournament, I believe we're in the Final Four now. I mean, I stopped paying attention. I'll watch the games here and there, but I stopped paying attention because my bracket absolutely blew up, as probably everybody else did in the first couple of weeks. And there's no better place, though, to get your bets on the NCAA tournament. And if you still want to get in on the action, then at our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to fanduel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. You could wager on everything from money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. And the best part of all, which I love, is that the app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/locked on to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. So after the Lightning have a close game in Boston, losing by a very narrow margin of 2-1, and then coming into Carolina, a game that I think we could all agree on that we weren't, probably a large majority of Lightning fans were not feeling good about. And they come in and they pretty much outplay the Carolina Hurricanes. We have to ask ourselves, especially with, and this all goes back to consistency. Spoiler. You know, are the Tampa Bay Lightning out of their slump, their recent slump? They're coming off a 4-game losing streak. They snap out of it, thankfully, because I don't know how much longer we could have gone. Even if they would have lost tonight and then beaten the Capitals on Thursday night, I don't know if we could have been able to seriously look ourselves in the mirror and say the Lightning are still good. They're still in a good enough position, or they could still get it together to where we could feel good going into April 1st against the Islanders, one of the better teams in the Metropolitan Division, and then facing off against the Rangers, who won again tonight, and then finishing out the season against Ottawa and Toronto and Detroit before meeting Toronto in the first round of the playoffs. Because really, I mean, if that losing streak was extended to 5, I think we could all agree that we would probably expect maybe 1 win or 2 wins in that series, especially if we didn't see anything that would have indicated that Vasilevskiy is sort of getting into playoff mode. And that's what would probably be the most. And before I go off on another tangent about that, because the other side of that about getting ready for the playoffs, I mean, if we look at their past couple of weeks, or just look at the whole month of March as a sample size, not even talking about February, you look at the month of March and just the Lightning are just completely all over the place in terms of just performance, who they're playing against. How can we measure this team? Are they ready? Are they good? Yeah, they're a playoff team, but there's a difference between a good playoff team and just a team that has built up enough ground early in the year. And then you couple that with circumstances with teams in the division and just schedule at certain times and other teams not taking advantage. We got to ask ourselves, what kind of playoff team is the Lightning? And I feel like right now they're definitely in the middle of that, but I think that we could all agree, if we're really being brutally honest with ourselves, that this Lightning team is probably leading towards the team that right place, right time, won the games early on when they needed to, and still I think is in that gray area of really going from right now, I think if you're going to ask me what does that team that, right place, right time, won games early on, accumulated a lot of points early on, what kind of possible success could a team like that have in the playoffs? And my answer, even if it was just team A, you just give me the points, you just give me the schedule, I would say that they lose in the first round. And I don't think we're ready to group them or at least say that about this Lightning team yet, considering how they won tonight. Because, like I've said in the past, and I've said it many times, when the Lightning have struggled, when we at times have felt unsure about where this team is headed, playoffs aside, it all reverberates back onto Vasilevskiy. And I know that's not fair, but at the end of the day, this team, their success, yes, at the end of the day, a lot of people might look at Kucherov, a lot of people might look at Point, but truth be told, when it comes down to the Tampa Bay Lightning and where this team is playing and how well they play against other teams, it comes down to how well 88 is going to be playing and how well he plays in that game. And I know it's also a double-edged sword because if this team doesn't play well in front of him, there's only so much he could do. But that's what sets him apart from other goaltenders, I believe. That's what separates him from mediocre Vasilevskiy, which let's face it, for most part of the season, we have seen him be mediocre by his standards and probably by NHL standards. I think that what we saw tonight was very positive. Now, can he go into Washington on Thursday night and do the same thing? That's a totally different story. That's a totally different, I think, conversation to be had maybe for tomorrow night. We could, when we drop another episode. I think if you have to put a gun to my head at the end of the day, and just from how the Lightning have played from Winnipeg on, because I'm not going to talk about the first 2 weeks or the first week and a half with Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Carolina, Philly, Vegas, and Chicago. That was just a weird up and down week where, let's be honest, those games against Pittsburgh and Vegas, almost identical. I think were both very winnable games and games that the Lightning should have won, but just constant, dysfunction in terms of trying to execute their game plan or trying to just go out there and execute in general. I'm not even going to look at that. Winnipeg on, I think we're starting to see the starts of a trend if we're just looking at Winnipeg. If you look at that stretch from the 12th to now, 3 of those teams that you have gone up against, and I'm talking about New Jersey, Boston, and Carolina, those are all top 3 teams in the East. And I believe, if my math is correct, also in terms of points, the top 3 teams in points. So win or loss, I think we could say that the Lightning definitely are on the right track. I think that if these were against different teams, we might be having a different conversation. We might be having a different outlook onto how this team could potentially play in the next couple of weeks, and we could potentially have a different answer on whether they're out of their slump. So my answer for now is, show me what you could do on Thursday. If they play well, I mean, let's face it, they should win that game. The Washington Capitals are a team that are very winnable. If you go out there and you only let Alexander Ovechkin beat you for 1 or 2 goals, I think that's a successful night. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time. You're not going to be able to shut him down. And you definitely shouldn't stress about whether or not he's going to beat you. Just worry about the other guys that are on that team. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, like I said, I think my answer to are the Lightning out of their slump, I'm going to say show me what you can do on Thursday and check back in with me on Friday. So that's what we'll do. That's my answer to that, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, I think really at the end of the day, Tampa Bay just needs to be more consistent. And I believe that's what Stamkos spoke about post game tonight. So consistency is the name of the game, and continuing to play better is the goal down the line. So wrapping things up on the show, the Tampa Bay Lightning have tomorrow night off, and then they will be in Washington. Actually, they'll be home against Washington, excuse me. And I don't know. I always get nervous to a certain degree when the Lightning play Washington. Ovi kills the Lightning. I believe he has the most career goals. His most career goals against a single team is against Tampa, like 99% sure. And I mean, that's not the kind of thing that the Lightning, like I said, should worry about. They should worry about just going out there and playing a disciplined game. They should worry about just going out there and just taking what they did against Boston and Carolina and bringing it into this game. I would really also hope that Cooper continues to play Vasilevskiy. I wouldn't mind if Vazzy plays at home and then Elliott plays Saturday against the Islanders. Just because if you go into the New York game and you've lost to the Capitals after you just got some momentum under your feet, I would just, not saying that Elliott doesn't give the Lightning a good chance to win. I would just prefer that, especially since after your star goaltender just had a shutout, you throw him right back out there after he just had a great night. I think we could agree as a whole, let me know in the comments below what you think about this game. Was this the best game that Vazzy's had all season? Like I said, this is his third shutout of the season. I think we could agree in terms of just the level of talent that he faced. I would say based off of that, and then he had a shutout. I think, at least for me, I think it was the best game he had all season. And maybe I'm just being a little, maybe that's just recency bias, because I feel like he made a lot of great saves in this game, especially in the third period and the second period, to where I really think that if he don't make those saves, at least this is a 1-goal game, especially in the third period. That's how I look at it. So let me know in the comments below what you thought about this game. Let me know how you're feeling about the Lightning at this point in time. Are they out of it? Are they on the right trend? Are you not convinced yet? And I think no matter what answer you throw down there in the comment section below, I think you're right in terms of your answer to them. Are they out of their slump? Because we don't know with this team. They haven't really shown us, except since January, that they could do it consistently, that they are a team that really deserves to be put up there, at least, or be able to play with the big dogs in the NHL. They proved it tonight, but that doesn't mean anything. Like I said, I mean, they could easily go out there and win tonight and then just completely lay an egg against the Washington Capitals. It's all about consistency. And I'm glad finally that we're starting to see some sort of response from the team vocally. Like I said, Steven Stamkos did talk post game tonight. I don't have the comment in front of me, but he did say that they have a plan. Obviously, they know what the plan is now in order to win. They had a plan, almost had them within reach of beating Boston. Had them, and then they beat Washington tonight. I mean, excuse me, they beat Carolina tonight. So they know it works. They know what works for them. And if you have a game plan that's good enough, if it's just good enough to get within striking range of Boston and beat Carolina, I'm fine with that game plan for now. that game plan will continue to evolve, hopefully in the right direction. But at the end of the day, like Stammer said in his post-game interview, it all comes down to execution. And that has been the number one struggle for this Lightning team all season. And hopefully we'll be talking on Friday about this Lightning team executing the right way and things looking on the up and up. And hopefully we could start talking about Andrei Vasilevskiy officially being back and Lightning fans and this Lightning team being in a better mood and state of mind as the playoffs are right around the corner. So let me know in the comments below. And as always, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, and yeah, let me know. And if you would rather let me know on the side in private, whether it be a question or how you feel about this team, you could always reach out to me on my Twitter page at DankyDank, DENKYD8NK. I love hearing from all of you. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube page already, please go ahead. I mean, we are on the cusp of 450 subscribers. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but you guys have really stepped it up. I mean, we kind of got off to a slow start there, but 450 and then 50 more, and then we're at 500 and then halfway to 1,000. So, and we could only do it with your help. So please go ahead and do that. So we'll be back tomorrow to talk more Lightning hockey. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Tanker. I'll talk to you next week.